Right, so today I want to talk about control maybe, or rather how little or a lack of there is over any of you. Let's start with like the easier ones to debunk. Okay, they say skin color, race, what else? Yeah, your economic strata, all things that you you don't have control over. You are just born into them. You cannot, you do not have a say in I want to be this particular skin tone, or I want to be this particular level of this, or or things like that. These are like the kind of obvious ones. And as you probably go into like the deeper end of things like intelligence, um yeah, things like intelligence and all like the other things probably come into picture. uh you don't get to pick if you're smart, you're stupid, um you're this or you're that. And probably the next level of all of this is you have a certain level of upbringing. You have genetic factors, you have biological factors. All of them come into making you. And I'm not sure you have control over most of those things. And we also completely don't know why certain people react differently to different kinds of wounds. Some, I mean, sure, there are, they call them the overcompensator, or you just bend to your wound. Someone with probably improper emotional care as a kid could compensate for it, this immaculate career of, I don't need anyone, I don't need love, or they could probably become a love junkie. One of those two things, but we do not know why they compensate. Certain people compensate like this, certain people compensate like that. But one thing we are rather sure of is they do end up compensating for those wounds, and most people aren't even aware. I wasn't aware up until recently, but yeah. So you don't really get a say on all these things. And on like a higher level, we have all these conditions like ADHD, OCD, and all the conditions that we've not identified, by the way. One of man, I don't want to sound insensitive, but you know one of the things about all the people, all of rather the important people in psychology is they most of them are still alive, or were alive up until very recently. The father or CBT, or this or that or that or this, they've all they've all just passed away, or they're really old right now. That probably just shows you how little this field has been looked into. I mean, in general, there's very little to no knowledge of how much we know about the world, but this probably the most important part. A human being, consciousness, and this magic thing of life is something especially very little, a thing that's been looked into very little. Yeah, anyway, back to all these disorders and disorders that we've not identified. Someone with lack of attention in the classroom could, they probably have to live with their parents, all their adults. When you're a kid, by the way, okay, this is, unfortunately, call it a feature or a defect of mammals, because parents are like the ultimate gods. Nature and nurture, they give you both of them. So if not if whatever they say, looks to a kid like it is the ultimate thing. And this is something that's followed across the animal kingdom. Fun fact here: a duck pond, I forgot the phenomenon name, but you could go like to the first moments of a duck being born, and if it sees you, it's gonna think you're his mama. I mean, it's funny, but at the same time, you can kind of see how powerful the effect of people like that is. So someone someone with something like ADHD, something that they genuinely have no control over, people or all the adults around them are just gonna simply attribute it to poor concentration or your fault. Why you not like the others? And it it is genuinely arrogant to some extent of blaming people. Or you could just put this concept on steroids. Okay, a classroom or a place where you go to study or this education or whatever. Okay, a place that's supposed to you know show you the best of humanity is ending up being this very sad place. Growing up, or rather, you'd see good kids and bad kids, but the reality is there are just kids. Okay, and you see teachers and all these others go, oh, that's a good kid, he does his homework well, or he tops the class, or these are the best students. But in reality, it is just people are being selectively empathetic, or rather there is a very big lack of empathy towards the other part of the population. These people with we don't know, by the way, I want to also point out that these good kids, they have done absolutely nothing to deserve the intelligence, or a good childhood, or anything, or all the factors that we don't know that makes them. They are just born with them. And if there is people unfairly comparing you to them, versus even these people, okay, the quote unquote good kids, or the people who study well, or anything, okay, they almost take it to their head, um as if they deserved all of that, or rather they they did play a very big part in who they are. But no, dude, they didn't. And the irony is, the more intelligent you are, and the more science you do, the more you're going to realize that. And it brings me to this I'm not sure I want to go there. Let's not go there. But yeah, there is that. Yeah, it's very sad that this most of like the people that are considered bad students, they are in the most need of this education, this beautiful thing of science, wherein you help them understand themselves, you help them. Yeah, you help them with the magic of science, damn it. But it's now turned into this industrial process of mass blame, and you have parents, saying, oh, it's your fault, we provided you with just as many resources as this student. But the reality is not that simple. The simple truth is, we do not know enough to make any judgment of anything or anyone. I'm probably playing with fire here, but when a lot of people say, oh wait, I don't do this bad thing, or this is a part of personality I'm proud of, or oh, my mentality is different, I wouldn't, or this or that or this. They really are failing to take into account that they had no part to play in most of the behaviors that they'd inherited. Simply, even me, okay, the fact that I can talk like this, the fact that I can reason, all of them are simple products of the way I grew up, me being exposed to English, and me having enough of this or that to articulate all of this. That is just simply it. So when I see people who hold a good grip of communication skills, or this or that or that this, saying I'm better than you, and yeah, sure, okay, society does consider certain kinds of people to be better, certain kinds of people to not be better. But the fact of the matter is, when you have better English speaking skills, or when you're rich, you are just that. You are just rich. You are not. You have not done, or you have really no control over any of it, and that is very sad. Or even the way we're treating crime is this is philosophical discussion, by the way. the way we're dealing with crime, or the way we're trying to solve problems in the world. Um, most most of us are more or less a certain way, okay? Because yeah, I can think of animal cruelty, or rather the way we're treating animals as a very good example. Most of us, we eat animals, we don't treat them too good. Yeah, but simply because most of us are doing it, it's legal, okay? In a, probably a perfect world, or rather a world where, yeah, or a world where we probably thought through first principles, or even in the future, the world has a way of moving towards first principles thinking. The reason why women can vote, the reason why people of color have rights. Anyway, I'm sure people in the future is going to look at the way we treated animals or some of our other behaviors and just go, God, wow. But yeah, so most of the criminal system is simply, most of crime is crime because most of us don't do it, or most of us think it's bad. We don't know why we think it's bad, but we probably think it's bad. We probably have empathy towards it, and that is really all there is to it, unfortunately. A criminal doesn't probably choose to do crime. I'm sure there are aspects to them that aren't ideal, which need to be fixed, but no one's looking at it in that lens. Someone, a lot of religious hate, crimes, this, that, this, it's always blamed on the person, okay? And we've spoken about this before, okay? By treating it that way, you aren't just, yeah, you aren't just doing something that's not productive, you're rather betraying your cause as well. Because it will draw you further away from the problem you're actually trying to solve and the problem you're passionate about. If you are trying to somehow make yourself feel better, then yeah, okay, sure, great strategy. But if you're actually trying to prevent crime, or the point of justice is, to make sure that something as bad as it doesn't happen again, then bro, don't advocate for things like death penalties. Advocate for better research on why all of this is happening. Make sure that something like this, or the likelihood that something like this is not going to happen to someone. Yeah, because I'm sure, okay. If a lot of us thought that something that that's in the criminal law right now, if a lot of us thought it was fine, even slavery is like a wonderful example of this, okay? Most people thought slavery was fine back then. They're conditioned to, or whatever, okay, for some reason, okay? And it was, and people were genuinely fine with it, and I'm sure a lot of people told themselves that they were good people, and this and that and this. But fact of the matter here, it is very simple. This line of empathy, this side of empathy, I think it begins to grow on you when you realize you really have no control, man. Control is a very big illusion. Okay, now that does not mean you get to go around and do what you want, okay? I'd like there, to be a system where someone with, who has troubling tendencies to do, to bad things, or, something that they're conflicted about. Because I'm sure, like, most crime, or most bad things, that they happen from people not being completely aware. And I'm sure there could be so much human benefit if we just had better understanding, or rather, yeah, better understanding of all of this. So maybe instead of advocating for punishment, we should advocate for forgiveness and understanding. And I really hope that's the next big trend. And another point in this line is, it still haunts me, okay? This whole doing things alone, or rather baseline of what is normal is not something that's standardly been agreed or defined upon. And so you just have to go with most people's words for it, which is, which can be very unscientific and even straight up biased. So me personally, I didn't know we could, humans are even capable of doing this alone thing. All I knew was my wounds were getting soothed. The more people I had in my life, or the the more people said good things about me, or yada yada yada. And I just thought that that was social connection. I didn't really even know that you were responsible for your own feelings to almost a scary extent. You are absolutely responsible for your own feelings to like the maximum extent. And the people who were born with that emotional reality in mind, you are so lucky. But at the same time, they also probably realize that it's not on them, that they had inherited all of this wonderful structure. But society has to stop looking at problems this way. Or I can even I can even see men and women in the spectrum of hating each other. We have a world full of woman haters, man haters, and they are completely failing to look at it from the lens of empathy. You see women saying men are this, men are that, most men are this, most men are that, but in reality they're completely failing to understand all of the circumstances, or the reason for most of it. And this happens with men as well, men making judgments about women as well, and race and religion, or I could just keep going. All of this is happening because of how frighteningly unaware we are of the whole thing. And surprisingly, no one is curious. No one is curious enough to examine all of this. Because trust me, okay, the reason you have a bad thought, or the reason you have something troubling, people are just gonna assume you are that. I mean, forget about you doing it. If you just come out and say, man, I'm kind of troubled by this thought, or I'm afraid I might do something, people are gonna eat you, man. It's gonna be, oh, I don't do it, or rather a good person won't do that. But it's never understanding of the whole psyche, and the fact that you are out there trying your level best to not do something. We really, really, really could benefit as a species from this understanding. But yeah, anyway, that was that.